Tommy, and you were on the boat. Hey, good to have you here, Will. Let's say hi to some people, and then we'll get this puppy underway. Hey, welcome. You look fantastic in green. I love it when people turn green. Taylor Miller, good to have you here. Jules, what's happening? Hello, Valerie. Glad that you were here. Chickacherry Cola. Leslie, what's happening? If you have never caught Will here before, you might not tonight. Todd, good to see you, Todd. Deborah, what's happening? We'll see if we can't get Will back here in a second. In the meantime, I will get on there. There you go. Let's see if that works better. So if you've never seen Will before, Will is a recovering heroin addict, just like me. Wes Lightburn, good to have you here. Deadhead, what's happening? Hey, Christy Wolf. This is a cat that has walked a mile in my shoes. Hey, Todd, I am so glad that you are here, man. It's good to see you. Monk. So I'm going to throw you off a little bit, Will, because I know that the last time we were here, we were talking about getting on with the rest of your story. However, I want your opinion on the Nick Reiner stuff. I'm sorry I do. But you've spent as much time in and out of facilities the same way that I have. And I'd like to hear your take on this. By the way, you don't have to agree with me to be friends. You can say whatever you'd like. Terry, good to have you here, bud. All right, what do you think? Will, can you hear me?
By all means, this is a perfect question for you to ask. I love that you. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Yeah, we got a bit of a delay. So here's the deal. Okay? Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of this case. I really want to know your opinion on this.
You're a little jumping. Yeah, we do.
Well, that just sucks. All right, people, here's the deal. I really do want to hear this cat's opinion on this, because this is a person who, like me, has spent a decent amount of time dealing with people in the same situations. So we're going to let him get back onto the stage here. By the way, yeah, tech issues, and it's not on my end. I just ran my diagnostic, and I'm at 980 megabits per second. Your phone's about to die. Well, Christy Wolf, go get that thing on charger. Now let's see if we can bring Will back in here and get his opinion on this case. Will, what do you know?
I'm back.
Tell me what you think of the Nick Reiner case, especially whether or not this cat is somebody that's not guilty by reason of insanity. What do you think?
I mean, he's definitely guilty on what means. I mean, complete lunacy, ultimately. I'm wondering with this guy, when is he going to have that moment where it comes crashing down on him and that this is real and this is your life and you're not getting out? I love that you talked to me and asked me about this question, because I've been just following this case. I've been following through you as well. You've been covering it great. Captain, you've been killing it lately. So what I think, right now, I think he might be embellishing a little bit in maybe a little bit of the fame. I think he might kind of be riding that person that, he seems like a person that's always trying to chase a high, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Like his story, like you've talked about when he was in rehab. I've met a few of these and watched them firsthand where people didn't take it that far and was not doing heroin, and they were introduced to it in recovery. And that's bad. That's not a good start. Like, they're in the wrong place if that's where your head is, for sure. And I don't see, he's going to be isolated the whole time. He's not going to be able to really cope with general population. He's just not. I see the guy's social skills online, and he's just awkward.
Well, and the entitlement thing, I mean, you've seen it inside. So for those that don't know, Will also spent some time incarcerated, which happens, right? That's why Will is sober today. That's why Will is engaged. By the way, congratulations. Congratulations on your job. You're just absolutely killing it. I love watching people in recovery succeed. Right? I really do. I remember a time when you and I were working together. and you said, I lost my girl, right? The work thing was like everything was sort
Yeah.
of falling apart. And I said, it's funny how when you start putting all of that back together, those things sort of come back. I said, and you never know what's going to happen with your girl. So congratulations on the engagement.
Well, thank you. And what was good and what really helped me with that success is, you came along too at the right time and was able to kind of give me an outlet for somebody to call, be there for, and kind of coach me in ways and words that I I could get. And, by all means, a lot of my successes, thank you, Wes, thank you everybody, Deborah as well. To you, and a lot of promise to my new subs. My sub count now is at 61, right? And you have a lot to thank for that, which I'm always just so thankful for what you've done and everything. But like what I was saying is that success and that trail that you've seen me go down is a lot with your help. My fiance's done great by me. Also today we had a very nice day. We went and looked to some maybe future houses, and we
Nice.
talked to some realtors. Yeah, so it was getting our foot in the door and getting maybe into a home
I
of
love it.
our own.
I
And
absolutely
all
love it.
this stuff is very a good testament to when you're kind of just doing what you need to do. Good things will come, and they're not little good things. These are big wins, so those in between is really good that I have somebody like you that I can call, that you can continue to remind me that I'm doing this for something. So once again, I'm always thankful to you for sure.
You know what, and I love hearing that. I really do. It's kind of these days it's kind of my drug of choice. But make no mistake, because you hear this all the time, and Q used to get on me, right? I would say to him, "Man, you know what? You got me sober. You got yourself sober, right?" But it is nice when there's somebody there that speaks your language, right? I remember the first time we talked on the telephone. It's I work with a lot of people that don't have the same. Well, the life experience is so much different. And when we got on the phone the first time, we've walked the same
God, we really have. Yeah, when you talk, I'll hear things and I'll be like, oh, I know exactly what he's saying. I know exactly what he's saying.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations that I think that there's something refreshing. This is why 12. This is why group therapy is something that works so well. This is why connection is such a big deal. And I think it ties right back into the Nick Reiner case as well. This guy never had an opportunity to sit among people that kind of understood what he was going through. His case was so unique. Yeah, there's a lot of people whose parents are rich, but his parents were famous, like just viciously famous, right?
Well,
Everybody in Hollywood looked to his father like royalty.
and it has to show too that he was at probably the top-notch rehabs to go to. So you would have to think at least there's counselors that should be well equipped to at least help this guy. And I don't know if that shows badly on the rehabs or that he is just that far gone. I know that there was a subject, did Nick ever have a girlfriend? That guy probably couldn't have a girlfriend, not be creeped out by him.
Right.
I think there was a video of him with one girl at one time. They were outside at like a park. Did you see
Yes.
that?
Yep.
And you could tell that I think that was like a window of his interactions to almost everybody he's interacted with. There's that sheen of just awkwardness,
Yeah.
People could be in a crowd, you could all be comfortable, but that one guy shows up. Nick's always been that one guy.
You know what? Yeah, bring it out. This should be interesting. Can I ask you guys about work-related gang stalking of mine? Yeah, no, do it now. This might be this could be interesting. I love doing stuff and doing
Yeah,
them on
let's
the
do it.
fly. But because there's about a 30-second delay, there was also a girl early on in this case. Now, here's the thing: it's kind of been purged off of the net, and anytime that happens, it makes me a little nervous. But in the very beginning, there was a girl who said anonymously, "I did date him for about 3 or 4 weeks, and he could be super charming, and then he could be super creepy." And I think that's probably going to be the narrative on this
The
dude, right?
vibe, yeah, for sure.
Which is sad. Yeah, but again, it doesn't give anybody a pass for any of the stuff that they did. If he
No,
had ended
it's
up incarcerated, think about the difference it could have been in his life. I mean, you went in a jerk, I went in a jerk, and you get the crap smacked out of you. You know
right.
what I mean? You learn very, very quickly.
Yeah, I think it could have may have went a different direction for sure if he may have was able to get more tough love sooner in his life.
Yeah.
That's
Boundaries
you
of
know,
any kind. It didn't even, we hear tough love and we think about kicking somebody out on the street or whatever, but just erecting some kind of boundary that if you go past this, this is what's going to happen. But the only time that I've seen that, and you've been deep diving this too, was them saying if you walk out of the rehab, then you're going to end up living on the street. But if you backpedal and send them money, or it again, it's you met people like that when you were a junkie. They
of
still had a
course.
ton of money, but they wanted to be on the street and sort of experiencing the
Yeah, yeah, they could. I really wish like their parents could have just gave me all that money and I would have just been his sobriety coach and I
right
would have been my
10 grand
own
a
like
month. 10 grand a
yeah,
month, knock that out. I promise you.
yeah, yeah, give me that. I'll put a cinder block right to his foot and have him chained to it so he can't leave. If not,
Yeah.
you're going to be walking around with that. Like, oh, I would set it up to where it would just make it impossible for
You know
him.
what? Parrot Rescuer says Nick never wanted to quit. And Lisa Murphy, I think this is a great comment, right? And this is something that
Yeah,
most
the
people should think
desire.
about. Yeah, if you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself, how could you have a healthy one with anyone else? Not to mention the fact that if you're not taking care of your basic needs, you're not brushing your teeth, you're not showering and taking care of that kind of business. And I don't just mean from the aesthetics, right? Nobody wants to be around someone that stinks, but nobody wants to be around somebody that is so far gone that they can't even take care of themselves. That's a frustrating thing to be around.
I love that comment that you were saying when he went to his psychologist and was like, I'm fat. My dick doesn't work. Like I need more medication. And I'm just like, oh, he so said that. I know he said some like thing like
Absolutely.
that. Look at
Manipulative.
me, I'm fat. You can't
Yeah. I mean, if
because
you talk
that
about
is a
manipulative,
Seroquel bloating out. Like he's for sure.
yeah, Seroquel is everybody that takes Seroquel. You probably saw it inside. Everybody that ends up on that drug gets absolutely huge, and
Yeah.
that's one of. I mean, almost every one of those antipsychotic is going to slow down your metabolism to the point where you're going to put weight on. Can you imagine getting 10 grand a month? Yeah, but I can't imagine getting it for doing nothing. Right, having it as
Yeah.
a as an allowance. First of all, if you're getting an allowance at 32, you really have problems. I work part time in a gourmet section of a fancy grocery chain. I was new. I'm an older lady. They had been looking for someone for gourmet for a long time.
Okay.
Expensive wines, cheese. Okay.
Okay.
Now, where do the freaks start coming in, Jay Biddle?
Let's hear it.
Yeah, right. Let's hear it. But it's such a fascinating case. I've been covering
It
true
is.
crime now for a long time. But what makes this one so unique is how well it's tailored for what we do. Right? We spend a lot of time talking about mental health and trying to better yourself. And just from having done this now for 4 years, the number of people who are dual diagnosis, people that had mental illness on top of having a drug addiction, it's the same thing. It really is the same thing. You have to get to a point where you say, it's not going to be as much fun to be medicated, but I can change my life. It's just like saying it's not going to feel the same way if I'm not doing heroin, but my life is unmanageable. You even with mental illness, you have to get to a point where you say, I'm going to bite the bullet and I'm going to take the treatment that I need, because truthfully, when they're not medicated, they feel wasted. And if you think
Right.
about it, it makes perfect sense, because the brain chemicals that we pay, for the mu receptor, the mu receptor, you're paying for heroin or you're paying for fent or whatever to go in and attach itself to the mu receptor. If you're somebody whose brain chemistry is just off anyway, you've seen people who are in a manic state. I mean, they look like they're on drugs. They get misdiagnosed for that all the time.
Right. Yeah. Gosh, I remember seeing that interview with him and his dad, and it was just you didn't really see much of that collaboration. Wasn't that a movie that they made about him?
Correct.
And
Yeah,
you
it
just
was
really
basically
didn't seem like
autobiographical.
yeah, I didn't catch the movie. I wonder if I want to see that movie but Charlie, wasn't it? Some Charlie's walk.
Being Charlie.
Me and Charlie, yeah.
The movie's going to disappoint you. I'll tell
Is
you
it?
right now.
I know,
Absolutely.
there was nothing. I've seen little clips, and there was nothing about it that really grabbed me. You know what I
No,
mean?
it's.
Like,
I think it was something that the father did out of guilt because it was going to, in theory, bring the two of them closer together. Of course, it didn't because Nick wasn't going to allow that to happen. Coworker, older male, but he wore pants low like kids. He was sagging. We were in the storeroom and back. I looked at him bending over cases of beer. His pants were around his ankles, bare bum. That would have bummed me out. You know what's funny?
That's
Were they
unfortunate.
vicious about that in Arizona? Did they allow people in prison to sag?
No.
Yeah, in the feds.
I mean, it would be county, yeah. Yes and no. It was just kind of depends, really. It was with not really our car, so
yeah, exactly. Not something that happens in the white boy car.
Yeah,
I looked away, waited a long
their
time.
direction anyway, so
right. He was like pretending to try to pull them up. Yep, pulled them up, and then they went down again. That's just foul, J.L. Biddle. I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. That's repulsive. Yeah. But in the feds, it's a write-up. It's a 300 series shot, so you get one more warning. And as my esteemed colleague was saying, most of the things that people do inside are germane to their particular car, which could be what part of the country you're from. It could be a gang thing. It could be race. But the white boys don't often sag their pants. Thank God.
Yeah, no, I know, right? And now, like, when you get out and you're on the outs and you see people wearing it like that, it takes a new meaning. You know what I mean? When you kind of find out that how exposed you never want to be, then you know, like,
yeah, it's foul. It really
is. I'm glad
the
that's
movie
kind
gave
of
Rob a dangerously false sense that the problem was solved, and I think on top of that, it gave Nick Reiner an opportunity to turn the knife a little bit more inside his dad, right? I mean, the making of this film allowed him to paint his dad as the bad guy. If you watch the movie, Will, instead of the father just being famous, the father's a politician, and the hatred of the kid to the father. It's a disturbing, especially knowing what was going on in their life. It's not a fun film to watch. He had a kind of shuffle walk, but not handicapped. I called the manager later. She told the store manager they got enraged with me. Boy, that checks out, doesn't it?
Yeah, right.
I mean, honestly, the victims always get victimized.
I have a theory. I think when he went in, he got him when they were sleeping. I think he got the dad first.
Guaranteed.
And incapacitated him and then went on to the mom. I'm thinking that's maybe how it went down. It's just, I don't know. I'm just now getting into this true crime thing. But that is my theory.
No, guaranteed. So I've been doing this a hot minute now, and 100 out of 100 times, if there is an opportunity to attack two people, you're always going to take out the threat. You're not going to go for the smaller of the two people. 100 out of 100 times. It's just baked into who we are as the animal part of us. He would have attacked his dad first, guaranteed.
How was the murder done?
So we don't know all of the details, but what we know is that they were in bed. Now, whether or not they were asleep or not, but both of them were in bed. By the way, juries hate that. They absolutely hate that. And the reason that they do is because that is where you're supposed to be at your safest, right? You're in there just sort of, at your most vulnerable. And he went in, and apparently there were multiple stabs. And according to People magazine, from the very beginning, they got a leak that said both of their throats were slashed as well. But now that it's starting to come out a little bit more, Will, there are a bunch of people that are saying this is one of the most violent crime scenes they ever saw. So it was butchery. Like he was going out this like he was possessed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And they list on the autopsy form, when they put Michelle's name, it says widower, which is their way of saying she died second. So he absolutely attacked his dad first. And the sadness of this is that anytime, you have patricide, right? When somebody kills their parents, one of them is going to watch the other die. And by all accounts, these two were wildly in love. J.L. Biddle says, held a meeting, all female managers enraged with me This is an old white guy. That's disturbing. It really is. That's
It
disturbing.
is. Yeah, definitely.
So I think they've put a safety hold on anything coming out of the coroner's office. Uh, Wes Lightburn said he was mad, no question. Do we know for sure that Rob and Michelle slept in the same bedroom? Wealthy people and elderly people usually have separate rooms.
Good
We
point.
don't know the answer to that, and that's
Yeah,
a
good
great point.
question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that's a good question.
It is a
I
great
mean,
question,
I'm
isn't it?
assuming so, considering what happened,
Well,
right?
I assumed that too. But here's the thing, and this is odd, right? But when Romy came into the house, she saw her father, but didn't see the mother. Someone had to tell her later that the mother was dead. Now, that could have been,
Okay.
it could have been one of those situations where you walk to the top of the stairs and the first thing she saw was her dad's body. He was considerably bigger, but we don't know, and we won't until they give us a little more. JL Biddle says, managers started immediately saying my work was bad. Then I told them I'm not quitting. I drove home and somebody tried to force me off the road on interstate in the city. I lost control of the car. Good Lord. That's terrifying.
It sounds like a problem. I would document everything, whatever,
Yeah.
license plates and anything that you can get, names and whatnot. Best report would probably help you. Do you know if they were sleeping?
Leslie says her mom found by bathroom on the floor. I don't know where you heard that, Leslie, and I'm not doubting, right? But I've been following this pretty close, and the only thing that I've been able to find from any verified sources were that they died within minutes of the attack. That the father died first, but I have not seen any of the. There are no details of the crime scene, Lynn. As of now, there are not. So what I have gleaned from interviews or the press statements that were made when they first announced that they were going to be prosecuting Nick. Then I was bombed with hang-up calls. JL Biddle, I hope that you called the police. Right, I went to a safe cafe I knew nearby. I was on the phone, and a couple started harassing me. The woman flash photoed me over and over. Were they Scientologists? Sorry.
It sounds like some characteristics of them,
It
right?
sounds Scientological, does it not?
Some of their tactics.
Yeah. Yeah. So just from what the prosecutor said, it was an edged weapon. So we know that that he used a knife. And a lot of times you just have to extrapolate, especially when they're not giving you anything. For instance, no one has said officially that they don't have the murder weapon, but we do know that they were searching the trash cans of the dumpsters over at the Pierside Motel, and they said looking for the murder weapon. Right. So although nobody announced that it's missing, you wouldn't be looking for it at the second crime scene if it was found at the first one.
Now, do they know who else was at the party that he was attending at Conan O'Brien's party, right?
Everybody, and I mean everybody.
Is there not more like people interviewing other celebrities, ask him
Yes.
like what
We
happened,
know that
what did he
we know
do?
that there were 10 subpoenas, right?
Okay.
They put out 10 subpoenas within the first week of Alan Jackson taking over the case. I would imagine that if not everyone, most of those 10 came from that party.
Is Alan Jackson still on that case, or was that the one
No,
lawyer that
he's
ended up?
officially gone.
Okay.
A guy had said in another department, he said several had wanted my job. I said, why? He said, because you get to play with the wine. I assumed they were stealing the ad. Well, there's usually a lot of breakage in those kind of positions, people that are stealing stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
See, this is also another legitimate theory, right? Her mom might have fallen off the other side of the bed onto the floor, or Romy might have went in complete shock and not realized Romy didn't know where Nick was. He could have still been in the room. Yes.
Good
And
theory. Yeah, that's a good.
that's logical as hell, Alicia, for real. She, by all accounts, she was trying to get out of that house as fast as possible. She was so shook up that it was her roommate that called 911. She wasn't even capable at that point of making the phone call. When she, by her own account, when she saw her dad's body, and obviously there was a lot of blood, turned around and ran out as fast as possible.
There should have been, of course, it was full, probably flailing around. There was, or unless he got on top of him with the covers and somehow subdued him that way.
That's actually a great point, because when someone is underneath, and Will probably knows this from prison, but they have blanket parties. The guy comes in and just, you get one guy on either side holding down that blanket, you ain't moving, right, at all.
Yeah.
So a lot of times if somebody straddles you and they get their legs on those blankets, you're not moving. Jay Biddle said the police said no crime had occurred, indecent exposure, and they admitted that they had his bare ass on camera. Jay Biddle, honestly, I hope that you sued. Former FBI agent Maureen O'Connell has good information on how physically difficult it is to do that and the rage that you need. This is not fun subject matter, but if you've spent any time in prison, you will have watched a bunch of people get stabbed, right? It's just one of those things. That's the weapon of choice inside. And I can't tell you how many stabbings. It isn't like the movies where somebody just goes up and goes, you stick that in. A lot of times it doesn't want to come back out. There's a lot of really weird stuff that happens. But yes, it is such a personal crime, right? It's unlike anything else. You shoot somebody with a gun, it is super
right. You're up and you're close, and especially your dad that hugged him and really cared for him, and just maybe wasn't there so much physically, but he poured probably so much love and money into that kid.
Yeah. Well, there was a case a few years back where there was a guy at a table cleaning a gun, and his son came in with a baseball bat. He had guns on his desk, one loaded, and on the computer film, like we're doing right now, he had the camera on his computer that filmed the entire thing. And he could have just picked the gun up and shot his son. Instead, he watched his son swing a baseball bat at his head and kill him. Because parents, I can't, as much as you want to defend yourself, and I'm sure that when this all comes out in the wash, we're going to see defensive wounds to the hands, but I don't think they would have been, I can't imagine them attacking him back, right? It's so bad.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're definitely right on that one.
Leslie, I would love to find that, and I will look for it. But either way, JL Biddle, I hope honestly you should have been able to sue for that. It's awful. Certain accounts from sources close to the family or unofficial law enforcement leaks suggest one victim was found near the bathroom door or entrance within the master suite. It'll be interesting when they get that out.
It's probably mom.
I saw that video too of Romy trimming Rob's hair. So, just briefly, right? Congratulations on your job. If I'm not mistaken, you're now full-time in that, correct?
Well, you can pretty much consider it. We're in the process of now just clearing the background checks. I'm on the last stages of everything else, as far as I even had to provide proof of my high school diploma. This was the very first job I ever had to do that. But next week should be finalized, and I should be good to go by the end of next week. So, how
good did it feel to pass a piss test for a job, right? Not having to bring in a bottle or trying to cheat it or having to whiz it in.
Yeah, it was definitely, the preparation to it was probably more long and exhausting than it needed to be. But finally, when it was over, what I was surprised is once it was over, I have still sustained from going back to smoking marijuana and stuff like that. So that urge hasn't hit yet, and I'm doing really good with it. So I'm happy. And it was like not having to carry so much weight during that time. So I was more prepared for it, I guess, than anything when they finally called me to go do it.
That's a beautiful thing. You should sue. That's my opinion. You absolutely should sue. The people at HR should have protected you, right? This is a creepy dude showing you his ass. They should have protected you. That's not okay.
Yeah, there seems like there's a lawyer that would pick up that, or at least listen to you in some way.
In a heartbeat. And one of the questions that was asked a second ago, Will, was they wanted to know if you got kind of super strength thing off of meth. And my answer, and you can Will can weigh in on this too, but I don't believe that meth will make you stronger, but it will absolutely make you faster, and it will make you more aggressive. The Blitzkrieg of World War II was driven by Privatin, right, which are Privatin, or depending on how you pronounce it. But they were giving dextromethamphetamine. They were just giving speed pills to everybody in the army. What's that?
The Germans, right? Yeah, that was the Percodan, or didn't they call it that? Pervitin, I think is what they
Pervitin. There
called
you
it.
go. It was just speed and a pill. And in the beginning, they thought everybody in the country ought to be taking this. They made it so that you could buy it at pharmacies without a prescription, and it was good for work. It was good for the military, and like everybody else that ever starts to get rowdy with a drug like speed, you realize that you're so much more productive for about the first 7 or 8 days, and then you become batshit crazy and you turn into Nick.
Yeah, yeah, you don't sleep.
And a lack, PCP does give you a kind of strength that is bizarre, right?
Now
Kind of
that does. It's very short term. That's nothing that really ever hit my wheelhouse, but like maybe once. That wasn't really around too much. But I could see where, there is. To answer the question with the other one, I think maybe some strength could come in the beginning. But I think, like Captain said, the speed, you're a little more jittery and wiry. Long term, no. I think with you being up and malnourished, no, I haven't known much tweakers to be really strong. But
no, but they're definitely more aggressive. And like Lisa Murphy
yes,
says, I heard meth heads like sharp objects. Is that true? Yeah, that's been my experience. Most will carry a knife. A lot of times because
they do.
they're already on paper, right? They're already a felon, so you
Right.
can't carry a gun. So a lot of meth heads carry knives. That's been my experience. You're welcome, JL Biddle. And it's not weird. It's evil, right? And Christine Anise
Hope it gets
says,
better for you too.
there are employee protection laws. Not sure where you are. There are also discrimination protections, right? Please document, stay safe. And I would contact this is a kind of attorney that, this is the people that do workplace law. They're all over the place. And most of them do this on contingency. 2 years is usually within the statutes of limitations on something like that. I think I would look into it. Deborah says, I took Adderall and it got bad for me because I was just using it to get more done as a mom and work. A lot of people did that. Meth during World War II? Absolutely, Leslie. Tons of it. Nazis were on this. In fact, there are some really great clips. There's an old video that I did on this that shows Adolf Hitler at the Olympic Games. And I swear to you, right,
that is a good one. He's rocking back and forth.
He's literally got the barrel of the pistol against his junk, and he's rubbing it back and forth as he's rocking forward. It's as creepy as anything
I've seen that one.
Yeah. You're right. Meth is a horrible drug. Meth teeth are a telltale sign. It's a horrible drug. Yeah. Now, not everybody gets that. It depends a lot, too, on the kind of meth that you're getting. Some of it will absolutely steal your grill and rot it out of your head, but some of it won't. Like I knew some people that have been on meth for decades that still had their teeth. It just sort of depends. But it's a gross drug.
Nick, this case reminds me a lot of that one guy that killed his family. He gave all that money to that Bulgarian cam girl.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that case? What was his name? Oh, I have it on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, that has a lot like similarities to it.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars that he took from his he ended up killing his mom, his dad, and his brother because he wanted to continue to give money to a cam girl so that he could watch her play with herself while he jerked off. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Grant Amato.
Nailed it.
I'd love to tell you that I got that, but I didn't.
Nailed it. Grant, that was his name.
Yeah, Grant Amato is the name.
But yeah, this one has a lot of similarities to it.
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities. This is a spoiled individual. Although, say what you will about Grant Amato, at least he went out and got education. He was he worked in the medical field, or at least had the ability to work in the medical field.
Yeah, I think he was a respiratory. Respiratory tech or something.
Yeah, and then what happened is just addictions, like any other addiction, he got addicted to brain chemicals that were getting released when he was rubbing one out, watching this chick, do her thing.
Yeah, same symptoms for sure.
Do you think Nick planned this? Somewhere in the journey, he became the lead in his indie movie. Overlap between reality and drug addiction. Do I think he planned it? To some degree,
Good
I think he did.
question. Yeah, good question. In my opinion, I think it was maybe no. I think it was kind of maybe at random and fueled by some type of triggering from that party. And I think from that point, I think maybe his dad embarrassed him, and I think that set him off to do what he
Yeah.
did,
Yeah, I think that he's been planning this in
amongst
one
other
way or
things.
another since he was 14 or 15. I think if
Really?
you would ever sit down and really be honest about it, he probably knew that someday he was going to kill his dad. There's a lot of hatred there, and everybody that gets interviewed brings it back up. Lynn said, "We had a friend that just passed away this past September from meth. I'm 66. Thought he quit decades ago. He left my house, died 4 hours later. I was a fool not to see it." You know what?
Sorry to hear
I,
that.
I don't know that
Really
you can
sorry.
beat yourself up for that, right? If somebody is been doing a drug like that for decades, they get very good at hiding it, right? They really do. Woodman says Grant was a nurse and got in trouble for stealing drugs from the hospital. Checks out, right?
Yeah.
I think he was. Can you imagine being addicted to looking at uh, a girl taking her clothes off to where you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars? And after they do an intervention on him, he comes back and instantly starts blowing more money. Right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he was on the family trip that his brother paid to go to Japan,
yep.
freaking, and was just off doing his thing. Like, yeah, I would hate to be landed in a cell with that guy.
Oh God, help us! You know that he got in more trouble. Are you aware of this?
I'm not. Please tell.
Okay,
Please
so
tell.
Grant Amato, after going to prison, ends up
Okay.
with a girlfriend of sorts. And they
Okay.
try to, he gets a contraband cell phone inside, and he calls someone to try to arrange to have her significant other killed. I kid you not.
Oh,
I kid you not. Maybe I should do a show on that.
I think you should. I think you should because I kind of no. God, that sounds kind of familiar actually. I thought he would just always try to reach out to that girl. I thought he was loyal to.
Yeah, but that girl, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. If you're a cam girl, I'm not mad at you. Whatever, you make your living the way you want to make a living. But there was never a chance this girl was going to take a phone call from him unless he was holding on to an American Express card, right? That
Oh,
she had no interest in
100%.
this at any level,
Right.
and she was probably working 4 or 5 tricks just like it. Parrot Rescue says, "I think it was triggered at the party." I think so too.
I
I think
agree.
everybody probably assumes that. And Will, I think, kind of summed it up. I think that whatever happened with Rob there, he either A, really embarrassed his kid, and I think there's a good chance of that, or B, he said, you know what, I can't do this anymore, right? You got to get out of that house. I mean, he may have put the gauntlet down one more time that said, you're going to have to move out, and the entitled little prick wasn't having it. But we're probably going to find out more when these subpoenas start coming in and we get to hear some of these people talk about what happened at that party. But whatever it was, he was creepy.
And where is he now? He's in California, right? He did this in California.
You talking about?
Nick.
Yeah, he is currently he is at the Twin Towers Correctional Facility. Prior to that, he was living in Brentwood, which is the same place that
O.J. Simpson.
Marilyn Monroe's house was in Brentwood. She was found dead in a house in Brentwood. The O.J. Simpson house was about a mile and a quarter away from there. By the way, somebody just bought Sylvester Stallone's house for $58 million. I believe it's Adele that bought it and trashed it. Right? Just bought it so that they could get rid of it and build something else there. They kept the pool. Everything else, I think they destroyed. And
Really not a fan,
I
I
keep
guess.
saying that about Diddy's place, and people are like, no one's going to buy a $60 million mansion and tear it down. Oh, they will. I promise you they will.
Nobody could live there and live just knowing what's went on in those walls. Like, there's no way.
Christiane says, my hometown is decimated by meth and other drugs. The loss of young people 16 to 25, also our society and community and future generations. Absolutely, right? That one of the worst things about the drug epidemic is not, I mean, it sucks that people die, but the ones that live sometimes are so much more difficult to watch. The Reiner's house was the Fonda house. It absolutely was. But when it was the Fonda house, it was more of a sprawling ranch. I think it was 9 acres or something at that time. So it kind of changed. And it changed when I can't think of the actor's name, but he played in the movie Casablanca. He was Elsa's boyfriend. He was the hero, the one that you hate because she leaves with him at the end. Grant's father went online to contact the cam girl and ask her to stop taking money because they couldn't afford it. And I'm sure, being a cam girl, she went, no problem. No problem. If he shows up with a credit card, I won't take it again. Not much chance of that. Not trying to be a cynic, but she obviously kept taking the money. Sounds like Nick went into terror tantrum. He had shark eyes. Yeah, you know what? There was something very evil about the look on that cat's face. Do you find that as well?
Let's talk about his eyes and those pictures that you see. When you Google that man, every of his eye pictures are the same. It's just this dead, lost, just the lights are on, but nobody's home.
Yeah, right.
There's never,
again, I went through Getty Images. I looked at thousands of pictures, and I found two where he looked normal and happy, but he didn't know the camera was there. In both of them, the picture was taken without him being aware of it. It almost makes you wonder if either he was terrified of the camera, which I don't know that makes sense, especially considering he did stand-up comedy. He went to open mic nights and things like that. I think maybe it was an affectation. He didn't want to ever look happy. Norman Lear did own that house. It was owned by three pretty famous people over the course of its life. In fact, Jane Fonda, Peter Fonda, they all grew up on that property, and then it was sold to the guy that played Victor Laszlo in the movie Casablanca. He had a drinking problem. He ended up selling it, and it then went from Norman Mailer to Rob Reiner. Parrot says his eyes are hollow. And Lynn says, oh, my God, shark eyes. Haven't heard that in decades. Yeah, but that's what they have. Imagine the people from the party. Their grief and guilt must be overwhelming. Yeah, there was a narrative in the beginning. I did a show about it, how people were blaming Conan O'Brien because he told people that they couldn't call 911. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe Hollywood is that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, you got your phone. Just dial 911 and stick it in your pocket. I don't think that.
He didn't have security there. He didn't have his own security there.
You would assume he did, right? Lisa Murphy says every picture he has a blank stare. It's almost worse than that, right? There's definitely that no one's home thing, but I think he's trying to look angry. I think he's trying to look menacing. You know,
if he shows happiness, I think then it goes against what he's trying to rub in his parents' face of how miserable for some reason he is.
I think he wants to torture. I think he wanted to torture his parents, and I think that was 100%. A recurring theme for him, which is so sad, right? It really is. And there are a lot of people that are going to say, yeah, it proves he was molested or whatever the case may be. All it proves to me is that he hated his parents. We can speculate why, all we want, but to me, the logical thing is how much he wanted to be famous and wasn't.
Can I ask you something about how do you feel about such low time that P. Diddy got?
Well, here's the thing.
Did you see that coming? I didn't see that coming.
I assumed the jury would not have a problem convicting him rather, on the RICO charges. However, they didn't. And because the only thing that he was convicted on were the 2 counts of the violating the Mann Act, the sentence was fair for that particular crime.
Right.
In fact, it was ultra fair, almost too fair. But the good news about that is there's no chance for an appeal because of just how fair Rune Subramanian was, right? He was tall. That is menacing to an elderly couple. Yeah, Lynn. I mean, and he was also a big dude. He was thick.
What about the guns that were confiscated that didn't have the serial numbers? That's just...
It could take a full year to get the serial numbers pulled back off of those guns. There's only one place in the United States where that gets done. So they will mail off guns that need to be checked. And at any given time, they could be waiting on thousands of them to be tested. They're always going to test guns that this gun was used at a crime scene and killed someone. That goes to the front of the line for triage. these guns were found at someone's house. There aren't any bodies allegedly tied to them. So it's probably not on their top 10 list, but it is odd that we've seen nothing come of it. Someone wanted to call the cops. Yeah, I heard this. And allegedly, it was, who was the girl that said, they like me, they really like me? Had a relationship with Burt Reynolds. Sally Field. Yeah, thank you, Johnny Scoville. Allegedly, Sally Field was one of the people that wanted to call. But I don't know, man. If I was there, I'd have called, right? No one was going to stop me from doing that. Seroquel is also used in smaller doses for insomnia. It gave me overwhelming hunger, even if I had already had dinner. Yeah, they'll give it 25 milligram doses. What's that?
Oh, there it is. It just makes you hungry. It just
gives you the munchies, something fierce, and it slows your metabolism down. And you almost always end up eating right before you go to sleep. So it's definitely something that puts on a lot of weight. I didn't know it was the Fonda House. I always learned something new and interesting on this channel. It absolutely was the Fonda House at one time.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, that's because I can't stay on the subject. But no, that originally was that was originally the Fonda House, and like I said, the kids were born and raised, right there. Then they ended up selling that, and they put it off into smaller pieces. And Victor Laszlo, the guy that played Victor Laszlo, got that. Yeah, he built it. Correct, Giselle. And then
O.J. Simpson's house that was leveled, right? They ended up taking that down.
Oh yeah. The house was. I believe he had already lost the house to her. They were divorced, so that was the Gretna Green property, and I believe that he had already lost that. The person that bought it, I believe, bulldozed it. If I'm not mistaken, they got rid of it.
Right.
And put another one up there.
Yeah, I was trying to make sure of that in Brentwood. Yeah. Sounds like a nice place to live.
It is. So it's where Hollywood elite, buys homes. It's like a master plan community, but most of the homes are mansions, and there is just so many famous people that live in Brentwood, and you would think that at least that gave them some kind of a tether, right? We know from the article in the Washington Post that he was going to school with Bill Pullman's kids. He was going to school with Robert Downey Jr.'s kids. So you would think that they had a similar life experience, but I don't know. It's not enough that you just had a famous parents or whatever. He was. It was more than that, right? He was absolutely. Well, I think drugs were really the big thing. I wonder if they'll bulldoze this. I doubt it. Go ahead.
Going back to Nick, like he's in so many circles of so many people that are, you didn't have cool friends. You didn't have it just didn't seem like he had any of that.
I think that he was difficult to be around because everybody kind of got the memo that this was a dude that hated his parents. And I think that makes people uncomfortable. As a kid, I don't think I would have wanted to be around people that, that was all they talked about. And it definitely seems to come across that way. Even if they called 911, it would have still happened eventually. Maybe, right? Maybe.
Some fraction.
Maybe they call 911. Maybe they call 911 and he gets arrested and put in jail, right? You go to jail. Now you kind of have to start living within boundaries that they set for you. If not, you're going to get your ass kicked. You're going to get pepper sprayed. You're going to get tased. And the fellas don't have much of a sense of humor about people that screw up a pod, or a unit. Why don't people leave the situation? Been watching USA First 48 Hours. Amount of people who die, I cannot comprehend why us humans are so self-destructive. Opposable thumb theory needs review. You know what? I think, and this is just my theory, right? But I believe that as human beings, we will take the devil we know, right? I mean, you see people that are just in horrendous marriages and they'll stay in that horrendous marriage for 30 years because they're afraid of what divorce will look like. They're afraid of that world. And as bad as the marriage is, well, at least they understand how bad the marriage is, right? Things haven't been good for a long time, but the bills are paid. They have a house and they just sort of live with it. And every situation is different. You can't generalize. I agree to some degree with that. but I think as humans, we're all fairly comfortable dealing with shit, even if it's not pleasant, because the fear of the unknown is usually worse than that. So, do you think Conan didn't want the cops called because some of his guests were taking lines of the white powder? I think it's because they're all Hollywood elites, and you don't want
could be one,
me doing the story.
maybe one of the reasons. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
do I think that there was probably some drugs getting done there? Probably, right? It's Hollywood. I don't think it would have been out in the open, but I'm sure that there was a lot of pills and a lot of powder at that party. I'm sure everybody there was on something, or a lot of people were. But I think that they don't like seeing the red and blue lights. I mean, they're the elite, right? Every one of those people have press, people that work for them as public relations people. The last thing in the world they want is to be at a party that the cops showed up at.
Yeah, right? And dealing with bad press for no reason because of someone else's kid that just went to go off on a party.
And everybody there loved Rob Reiner, right? I don't think anybody wanted the embarrassment for him of the police having to show up for his kid.
I mean, the movies he was responsible for, are just amazing movies.
Yeah, really great. A Hollywood party wouldn't be a Hollywood party without drugs. Sadly, there's something to that, right? They may also get something out of chaos. Yeah, sometimes it takes, like out of his own mouth. He never hit rock bottom. Get arrested and thrown in jail. That's usually a good start. Bystander principle. We are taught not to get involved, not to interfere. Mind your own business versus good Samaritan neighbor. Yeah, I think there's something to that. And I think the more famous you are, the more likely you are to not get involved, right? Because of the whole image thing.
Yeah, a lot of that bystander effect, kind of reminds you. Remember the Kitty Genovese case where, that woman was slain on the main road and everybody just watched. Yep. And then it goes back to probably one of our famous quotes is when good men do nothing, That's a good quote. Right. Remember, I've heard you quote that before.
Yep. For evil to triumph, all you need is for good men to do nothing. Not to change the subject, but then amount of people online who do not care about life and discarding a man's life ended by ICE. We are a sick world. Tiffany B., I understand the sentiment. I am choosing to not comment on that simply because of of how polarizing it is. And if it becomes a case, then I will absolutely talk about it because I talk about true crime. But that is, it's an ugly situation all the way around. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in an ugly situation because just like the Nick Reiner case, we didn't do dick about any of this for so long that it has gotten pretty wildly out of control. Kitty was killed in the doorway of her apartment while neighbors listened. Yeah, and people shut the blinds. When you get to law school, my dad used to talk about that case. That's one of the first things that they talk about in law school is the Kitty.
Really, is that case? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one caught my attention really early on. I remember it was quoted in Boondock Saints. That's why one of my favorite movies.
Oh, great film.
You like that movie? Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies.
Absolutely, Tiffany B. Absolutely. The killer came back to finish her off. It's a horrific story. It's absolutely a horrific story, and it's one that makes you question the humanity of what we've got going on as a society. Well, Leslie, there are people that definitely believe that these things are false flag situations. I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. I do know that by saying false flag, I just got this puppy demonetized, though. That's like top 4 things you're not supposed to say on YouTube. We already said cocaine, heroin, suicide.
Yeah, so
we hit the top 5. I should throw in child molester just to make sure that
for good effort. Yeah,
that's right. Just in case we flew under the radar, we'll throw that in there. Here's the deal. I'm sorry that I hijacked this because we were going to talk about. So now what I'll have to do is just have you back on. But I think it's essential that people like us tackle true crime because there are so many people out there. Hold on. There are so many people out there that weigh in on this stuff that that all come from a very specific part of that genre. And sadly, if you spent, a lot of your life addicted to heroin or similar opiates, you probably spent more time on the true crime part than most people did. You just did it on the wrong side of the equation. But it gives you an ability to weigh in on things from an angle that most people can't, and I think it makes it better.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you and I both know what he's experiencing right now as we speak. A
Right?
very dark place
Oh
alone,
God, observation cell too, right? Doesn't get worse, man.
and there's not any time where you have a time really to yourself. Even if you are by yourself, you're just going to hear the screams of other chaos and noise and jingling of keys. And these are things that you and I do not ever have to hear or experience ever again.
That
Isn't
is
that beautiful?
absolutely a beautiful thing, man. Yeah, unique experience and perspectives. Describe it. Yeah, it gives. So I can describe it. What he's going through right now is terrifying for a lot of reasons. First of all, being in that kind of a facility, if you've never been arrested, this isn't your run of the mill county jail, right? Twin Towers is massive.
That's
In
why I
fact,
asked, like, where
yeah,
is he? And I just remember if he's in LA or one of those, like, yeah, if he's in California, there's nothing good you hear about those.
no,
Like,
and the Twin Towers, because of they estimate that like 60% of the people in there are being treated for some kind of mental illness, which makes this one of the largest mental health facilities on planet Earth. There are so many people in there. There's tens of thousands of people in the Twin Towers, right? It's massive. So when he gets brought in there, at first they're going to put him on suicide watch. Both of us have been on suicide watch. It's miserable. You get nothing, right? You get a
nothing,
dress.
nothing.
You don't even get underwear or socks or anything else. You just get a dress and a very thick blanket. How did the two of us meet? Will left a message on the lifeboat a day I was ready to quit. I'm not kidding. And I reached out. I just thanked him for the comment. If you do this long enough, especially in the beginning, all I did was it was more like a rehab meeting than anything else, and it would wear you down. I had a lot of people kill themselves, a lot of people overdose. It's a hard thing, right? But I find that people come around at the perfect time, and Will left a message the day I needed to hear it, and we started to communicate back and forth through the messages, and he said in a message once, "Boy, you know what? Someday I hope to have an opportunity to talk to you." And I was like, "Yeah, shoot me your." Send me your stuff. And when I called, we just gelled, right? Just
And
about
here we
instantly.
are. Yeah, it was the
And here
best
we
best
are.
thing that could have happened else, through this YouTube thing. Like,
Yeah.
always very grateful.
They just destroyed a Hilton lobby and disturbed the peace of other hotel and apartments right next to the U of M. It's not peaceful in Minneapolis. Took the police about 2 hours. Here's one thing I will say, because people do keep talking about peaceful protests. In the '60s there were peaceful protests. Some of them didn't turn out that way, right? And we probably remember the shooting at Kent State. That was an ugly thing, right? But if I don't know, if I'm protesting, I'm not getting in anybody's face. I'm not breaking any laws. And when the time comes that they say you're under arrest, you put your hands on the top of your head. And what happens is you then go to court, and it gives you the opportunity to challenge laws, right? That's what protesting used to be.
Right.
I don't know that I would show up with a pistol. I'm not.
I mean, does anybody ever remember the peaceful protests ever?
Yeah, not in my lifetime,
You
right?
know,
Not in my lifetime. I certainly remember looking at videos of them. I heard a guy that was interviewed recently, and he came out and said, "I have been arrested." I can't remember what he said, 300 or 400 times. He's basically one of the Babe Ruths of protesting, and he said, we did it differently. There was none of this. You're crossing 4 state lines to try to literally put yourself in a position to break laws. That's not protesting, right? That's felonies, and it
can
sucks,
you
but it is
can
what
you
it is.
remember when they stormed the White House? That protest, like, wasn't that
Yes.
such a? I don't know. I was kind of worried for the state of the country. Once that happened, that's when I kind of got like a little worried at that point when they're
I
running through
just
the
remember
halls
people getting
screaming,
up and
Nancy, Nancy, like,
getting this far away from cops' face and screaming at them. I mean, not for nothing. You guys can feel free to hate me for this. But every time I see a protester get up and start calling a cop a pig and a killer and all of this stuff, I'm thinking either tase this person or hit them as hard as you can in the head with a billy club. Right. I mean, your rights end at my doorstep. Your ability to say, well, I have the right to do this. You have the right to get up in my grill and try to, and then what'll happen is everybody there is on edge like this. You want guys with guns on edge? Maybe it's because I'm a criminal, but I don't want guys with guns to be pissed off and on edge. I want to do everything I can to keep them as calm as possible. And spitting in their face is probably not the best way to do that, man.
Yeah, definitely not.
But what do I know, people? I'm a silly convict. All right.
You're a YouTuber.
I am a YouTuber. So do me a favor and make sure that if you got a wrench, please put up a link to Will Power's channel. I'd like to see that number get to 100. We have 113 people in here. Let's all get over there and hit that subscribe button because he will be doing the kind of content that I do, right? And I think it will be fantastic to give him a good head start right now, right? The faster that he can go live, the better.
Hey,
there appears to be tar and feathering. We had Bondi Beach here. I love Bondi Beach, by the way. I have been to Bondi Beach. I loved Bondi Beach in Australia. I stayed over there for about a month. 3 weeks, wasn't it? How long was it? But I was over there for a long time, and I went down to Bondi Beach every single day. Leslie says, what's his site? We're going to get a mod to put that up there. Johnny Scoble, you got a wrench.
Sinstar Studios.
Yes. Just curious, would the doctors treating Nick Reiner now treat him properly and not give in to his demands like they did when his parents dictated his treatment? Well, it's California. If by some chance, J.L. Biddle, happy to help. I think that by some chance, because of the fact that it's – what's that? Not yet. I am of the firm belief. If we're not there, we can't yell fraud. Can we, Lynn? I don't know, though. I really don't. It's California. There is a bar in order. There you go. There's a bar that is required to pull it off, right? And what I mean by that is you can go into court and say, we need to we need to force medication onto this person, right? We absolutely have to force medication onto this person. So in order to do that, you're going to have to go in front of a court. It's just the way that it goes. But they're not going to let him ride roughshod over him. I promise you that. They don't have a sense of humor. You know what I mean? Once you're locked up, they're used to people trying to push them. They're not going to let him push. He's not going to get any special treatment because of his last name. It doesn't work that way.
It's not going to get anything really good quality either. I mean, the quality of medication that they're going to give him is like the bottom of the barrel. I mean, it's going to be.
There's a lot of truth to that, right? There's a lot of truth to that. The courts can force meds. They absolutely can, but you got to go to court. You just can't, at least my experience has always been, you just can't make a decision at the jail level and say, we're going to force this person to take that. Never works that way. Okay, people, I actually have a date. I have to go drop off a watch for a gentleman who I repaired it for. But make no mistake, Will, you will be back. And I love the fact that we talked about true crime. I really do. I am hoping against hope that this is something that you start to deep dive and have fun with, because it's great to have a couple of people come on, answer questions, bounce stuff off of people, especially cats that have sort of walked the same path. Do me a favor. Yeah, it is hard to get done, Lynn. You're right. Do me a favor, everybody. You see that Sinstar Studio right there? If you've not hit subscribe on the Lifeboat, well, then what the heck is wrong with you? But do get over there and smack that for Will. I want him to text me later and say, hey, man, I just got past 100 people. My hat is off to all of you for helping the Lifeboat get past 25,000 again. It feels pretty damn good. I'm not going to lie to you. Well, thank you for coming on here.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for giving your opinion on this. I enjoyed the hell out of this. Let's do it again.
Of course. Yes, let's do, for sure. Bye, everyone.
All right, people, between now and the next time I see you, put a little love in your heart and get over there and hit subscribe on my boy's channel. All right. Thank you, Will. Good night, everybody, and God bless.